Hey there, thanks for tuning in. Today we've got a special one. We're flying the HobbyKing B-17 Flying Fortress. All right, folks, this is the B-17 from HobbyKing. I want to get right into the flying, so I've moved the build and assembly details to the end of the video. But I wanted to take a moment and just share with you what this beautiful aircraft looks like assembled. It's impressive. Make sure you have a little bit of room in your shop or your garage to put this baby together. And when you do, you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's take a look at some of the details on this excellent aircraft from HobbyKing. It's all about the scale details, right? I love scale aircraft. Take a look at the radial engines on this. Man, they sure look good. Excellent application of decals. The running lights were all bright and clear. I should say the decals are user installed. A little fiddly, but not a problem. All the cockpit glass and viewing ports and windows were in excellent condition, and I think that they're going to be durable for this aircraft. And I really liked how you could see the seams in the panels on the engine cowlings and the rest of the aircraft. Paint quality was excellent. I saw no problems with it whatsoever. That is a scale ball turret, and I will be upgrading that to FPV at some point, but this is all about the plane as it comes out of the box. So there you have it. Let's get this plane in the air and talk about how she flew. All right, so here we go. Throttle up, and she's on her way. I had to hold a little bit of right aileron on her to keep that wing level and some rudder, but with those four motors just purring away and some flaps at roughly 20 degrees, she had plenty of lift. A little bit of weather veining, but she tries to swing into the wind, but she's a very light aircraft, so that rudder was really helpful in that regard. No issues with the landing gear on the maiden. Everything deployed and retracted on command. I do like the scale detail on this aircraft, but I think that the landing gear could probably be a little bit more scale. I'm not wild about those springs, but they do their job. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the issues I had with the landing gear later. But now that she's up, you can see that she's handling the gust pretty well. The B-17 has a big wingspan, and it seemed to help a lot in these conditions, but I think she can handle it better if she had a little more weight on board. I did have to keep the keep the speed up to maintain some control authority because these winds were no joke that day. But with those big props, she ate it up, and although the crosswinds were pretty strong, you can see in some of these shots where I angled her that she handled the crosswind quite well. So with my buddy Keith out there with the drone, we were able to get some fantastic footage. Seeing her in the air, I couldn't distinguish it from the real thing. It seemed so realistic. Although my flying's not super scale, as you can see, it definitely presented itself with a command authority in the sky. And that's what I really loved about it. I could really fly this thing scale 100%. And look at that flyby right there. I mean, really super cool. This is pretty much one of the biggest planes I have. It's right up there with my Tucano. We're going to be doing a review of the Yak 11 too, and she's going to have a very similar wingspan. But I love that with the larger planes, they have a real scale feel to them. And boy, this thing's going to be a lot of fun when I get some FPV cameras on there and the ball turret for some of my flying friends to watch the flying as we go along during the day. I will not be direct flying this with FPV, but I will be putting cameras on it. Here I am coming by with a dirty pass to check the gear and check the flaps. And I opted not to land with any flaps because I had plenty of wind. But as you see, I'm able to bring her in with plenty of control, and she handled things quite nicely. This was a great shot. Keith really got in close with his drone, and you may have seen some of my shorts where I did a black and white overtone with some sound effects on there, and it was kind of cool. I really enjoyed doing that. So here we go, coming around. I believe this is our final pass. And again, we're crabbing with the nose pointed slightly to the right to track up center line. And I was not intimidated by this. Let me tell you, I was pretty nervous about landing her before I took it off. But once I had the feel for the plane, it was really no problem. I got a little bit of a gust just as I was shaping up, and it kind of lifted me a little bit. There we go. Had to bring her down some, but she handled it just fine. I opted for the grass because, well, it's a little bit more forgiving. So everything worked out pretty good. We did notice that one of the landing gear rotated, and I'll get into that in the build, but it was remedied by a quick tightening of a set screw and some minor filing on the wheel, actually the support, and it worked out. So this was our final shot as we got ready to end the day with a successful maiden. And let's jump over and do some more footage of the plane with the Insta360 Go. Here we go with a different viewpoint. Like I said, she took off in some very sporty conditions and handled it like a champ. You know, one of the things about this aircraft is it's lighter than I expected, and I think that would be really good as an intermediate plane for someone getting into the hobby. Notice the prop size. Notice the overlap. It works. Looks good. It's not scale per se, but one could get a smaller prop size and increase the voltage on the batteries and run 4S. And I have seen online in groups like RC groups that she handles very good. So I think eventually I might try to do that. But man, I love this view. It's pretty cool. I had to do a proper counterweight, and if you do something like this, you definitely need to make sure your CG is spot on and that things are secure and they don't move. So that is one unique viewpoint of the B-17 by HobbyKing. So the HobbyKing B-17 is a winner in my book. It's a 5-star flight. Let me tell you, it's easy to fly. We were maidening in 10 to 12 knots of wind, not fair to the runway, and she did just fine. I'm blown away that she can fly with 2 3S batteries and still have power to spare. We got a 5-minute flight, and I probably could have gone another minute. Very excited about taking this plane from this platform here to some detail work and adding some FPV cameras on there. The plan is to add a pan and tilt FPV camera to the ball turret and give folks an opportunity to move that camera around while I'm flying. But yeah, excellent plane. She's a real winner. Thank you. So now let's dig into the unboxing of this wonderful model. HobbyKing, as usual, does a great job putting things in boxes for us. This box arrived somewhat damaged, but in my pre-inspection, I saw nothing wrong with it. Got our decals, or decals as they say in the UK. And as to be expected, every part is individually bagged to prevent from damage and scuffs. And in looking at this, I found nothing out of the ordinary with it. Great shape. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but all of the ESCs and flaps and gear are pre-wired, which I found really neat. In addition, they even went to the extent of color coding each one. So I think the build is going to be real quick on this model. I'm not going to get into a great deal of detail on the build. There's some really talented RC folks out there online right now that have some really good videos on this subject. Essential RC is what we got, a super one on the build, so you might want to check that out. Same here on the starboard wing. Not a blemish in sight. Everything's in good shape. Probably gonna have to re-glue these, but not a big deal. I think that's just par for the course with any model that you get. The tail as well, beautifully packaged. Hinges are pressed foam. As with any pinched foam hinge on a control surface, I think it's important to keep an eye on those because they do get worn out. And what I typically do is run a real thin bead of hot glue on these, just super thin. It's just enough. I learned that by watching some really talented RC guys who made these last a real long time. Andrew Newton, that one's for you. Learned that from you as well. And the fuselage. This thing is a monster. Look at the size of this thing. What I love about it is everything is pre-installed. It's not going to take much to get this thing ready to go and in the air. Removing the canopy is adequate storage space. And the ball turret on the bottom. Would you look at that? Talk about scale detail. That thing's really cool. I plan on making a 3D model printed on my Bamboo X1C that will house a FPV camera. So if I have anyone standing by while I'm flying, they'll get an opportunity on a dedicated system to be able to do pan and tilt on the ball turret. Excited about that, but that's going to come later. This review is really all about flying this aircraft. They've also provided a B-17G chin turret, which can be mounted at your discretion. I may also install FPV on that as well, because that's what we do on this channel. So all really high quality parts. Look at the scale detail on the cowlings. Really going to look good. The props were all individually packaged. They give you 2 spares in case you need them. We have 4 motors that will be running off of 2 3S batteries. So don't need a ton of power, but these motors will get the job done. Everything I've seen that shows the 2200 3S batteries operating in tandem is plenty of power for this aircraft. No concerns. I've heard it's really great to fly. We've also got a bag of goodies, including the wing stabilizers. It's a main beam here. I'll pull it out of the bag for you. From what I understand, on really early models, they didn't have this, but in this case, these will be applied when we bring the wings together. And they've also provided a variety of power connections, so you can power off of 2 batteries if you wish, or I'll probably end up doing 1 larger 3S battery when the time comes. So all the hardware has been provided, and we're going to get together this plane tonight, and I expect that we'll be in the air shortly. All right, she went together real easy. There were no issues in terms of general assembly. We had a few pinch points that I'll discuss later on, but all in all, very clear directions, and you don't need a super high level of skill in order to assemble this aircraft. Again, I think it's an intermediate plane, and you should go out and give it a shot, because she's not a challenge to fly or build for that matter. You'll see that I have her in my aircraft cradle and my rolling tool and hobby cart. I point that out because with such a big aircraft, I needed it in order to be able to rotate it around. And I found that these 2 tools, when married together, were really helpful. So there'll be a link below if you're interested in those. The wing halves were a very simple matter to put together with the main spar, gluing the 2 halves together. Again, there's much better videos out there, more detailed on its assembly, but I will say that there were no issues. And then the aircraft's wing simply lays into the fuselage with the attached bolts, and you're off to the races. All the linkages were good quality. They needed minor adjustment, of course, as all aircraft in the RC world do when you get them. But I found nothing of concern or low quality. I had to tighten a few of the screws on a few of the control surfaces. Not too much. You don't want to over tighten them on those. It's just enough. ESC covers needed to be glued just a little bit. I just chalked that up to manufacturing. Wasn't a problem. And actually, I needed access to them to pull the wires through. So it worked out in the end. The wheels were the first one that I found were needed a little bit of help. When we did our first landing, I noticed the port wheel had rotated in the retract, as you can see here. And it was quite loose. So we opened it up at the field. We've got lots of helpful guys down at BRCC, and we're able to relax the screws and remove it. And it was a relatively simple fix. We just filed down the opposite side of the strut, and with the help of a few of the folks over at the club, we were able to fix that and make it work just fine. I do want to point out the batteries. Blown away by them. Because of their size. At first, I just couldn't get my head around how two small batteries could do the work that they did. But the Turnigy 2200s, they're little powerhouses. I am not afraid of flying this plane with those batteries. It's a lot of fun. Yes, you can go bigger. Yes, you can go stronger. But it's not really necessary. Two of these little puppies really performed well. And I'm a big fan of the Turnigy line. I think it's a good, reliable battery, and you would be in good shape if you were to use those for any of your models. So here we are doing some testing of the components. If you're new to the hobby, it's very important to get a good servo tester and to check all your components to make sure that everything's working and moving in the right direction. I love the color coding of the wires. That made things really easy for me to keep track of where I should plug things. The installation of the motors was mostly good. I mean, pretty easy. You slide them in, put in the two screws on opposite sides with a little bit of blue Loctite. But the one motor that I had a problem with would not slide into the metal housing to receive the support for the motor. And to be quite honest, it was a little frustrating. I was moving along at a pretty good clip there that evening when I was putting the aircraft together, and I spent about an hour trying to fix it. Now, I haven't seen that problem surface with any of the other reviews, so I think it's just an anomaly. And it turned out it was just a little burr on the inside of the receiver that needed to have some TLC. So basically that was take out the old Dremel and get to it. And after a couple of minutes, it was job done. Piece of cake. More testing going on of the components. Now I fly with Radio Master equipment and Speedy B F405 wing flight controllers. This is really no different than the testing that you would do with a Spectrum or any other type aircraft. So most people who are flying Spectrum and the pre-made stuff, pre-made flight controllers don't go to this detail that I do, but I build my flight controllers from Speedy B. You can see I have my little robot helping hands there, helping me get the board held in the right position. That guy's great, 3D printed. But, if you are interested in iNav, I've got lots of other videos up that show you how to program it. And don't forget to balance your props. But all in all, it was a really easy build, and was very impressed with the aircraft and how it flew. I greatly appreciate all my viewers and all the support that I've had in developing this channel. And I really appreciate HobbyKing for providing this aircraft for review and trusting that they're going to get an honest assessment. It's easy for anyone to post a video that's glorifying every aspect of a particular model. It's not so easy to be honest and to share what your pinch points were, and as well as your successes, triumphs, and joys. So we try to strike a balance with that in these reviews, and I hope that you go out and get one. Don't be afraid of it. It's a big plane. I am still new to the hobby in comparison to my peers, but my only advice is to get out there and do it. You may crash, you'll break stuff, but that's part of the hobby, and that's how we learn. If you don't push the limit and push your own limitations, you'll never get anywhere. And I can't tell you how many times I thought, hey, I want to just give up, but I kept pushing on, and I'm glad that I did every single time. So thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate you here at Navstar RC and Marine, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the interwebs. And if you have any comments or questions about this aircraft, please post. Really appreciate the likes. Got a lot of really good links down below if you're interested in any of the equipment that we use. So have a great day. Thank you for tuning in.